In the next slide here, we're going to talk about a couple of case studies. I'm going to talk about silica mining, which is one that I worked very closely for the last couple of years. So we have had a couple of silica mining customers that we've worked closely with. In particular, in the last couple of years, we were approached by one company with a nationwide footprint. They've got dozens of plants around the country doing silica mining and processing operations. So the initial, request was because of the PEL limits, the product exposure limits were changing. There's national mandates changing the PELs, and they wanted to know, where they were at as far as benchmarking the dust collection and the dust emissions in their plants and figuring out what they could do to make sure that they're compliant and their people are safe. So silica dust in particular is, there's a high hazard of respirable silica, which is, can cause lung disease and cancer and all kinds of things. So it's very important in silica plants in particular that, these dust emissions limits are taken seriously. So what we did is we put a plan together. We visited dozens of their sites, did a very thorough layout and mapping of each dust collection system. Some sites have, a dozen or more dust collection systems on the site. So we mapped them out. We did a current state layout and evaluation of the dust collection systems, looking at all the factors we talked about, dust emission sources, hood capture, ductwork design, dust collector, filter media, sizing, maintenance, the whole 9 yards. And for each site, we submit a report with our findings, basically saying, here's your current state dust collection system layout, kind of a basic engineering document for each system with a list of recommendations that would help improve the site. So we've worked with them to implement some of those, and they've been able to implement a lot of those themselves as far as maintenance, equipment modifications, and so forth. A couple of the very common things we saw from site to site was, number one, because silica dust is highly abrasive and a lot of these systems are years or decades old, there's a lot of degradation just due to abrasive dust wearing through ductwork, vent hoods, enclosures, and dust collection, equipment. So although the system might have been designed properly 15 years ago, now that there's holes worn in the duct elbows from the abrasive dust, and you've got holes worn in the housings of the dust collectors, they're having performance issues. So what we did is we walked through the entire system for each of these, documented where you're losing your airflow and suction to these, holes and degradation. Things have been moved and changed over time. The systems are totally out of balance. Sometimes the dust collector is undersized or oversized or not properly configured. So, that's basically a blueprint that we can then hand the customer to say, if you want to address the dust emission sources that you could see, if you want to make sure your exposure limit, requirement is met, and if you want to follow the best practice to make sure that you have dust collection under control at your site, here's your blueprint for what to do, step-by-step checklist, and then it's got to work implementing that. So that's the silica case. We've got many others like it. I'm going to let Dominic talk now about a couple of his experiences with gypsum and frac sand mining.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Yeah, I thought we'd mention just three specific customers, different industries that highlight some of the benefits that we can bring to our customers. Over the years, we've worked with many frac sand plants. There's been a lot of consolidation over the years, but we've worked with close to a dozen different frac sand companies over the years, some of them combined and things like that. So the landscape has changed a lot, but we've been to quite a few. We've helped a lot. A lot of common things that we've been able to help at some of those facilities, in addition to training. Many of them we found, especially as they consolidate, they have a really hard time maintaining a standard list of parts, in particular their main filters and cages for their baghouses. And unfortunately, a lot of manufacturers and then mostly sales rep organizations that provide filters as third or fourth parties even, a lot of times they have an interest in keeping the end user in the dark a bit about the types of filters that they use. A kind of really common thing that gets done is they just give you a very generic part number that says nothing. And then when you go to reorder the parts from someone like us or another bag or cage manufacturer, it's this big process because you don't actually have any information about the sizing of your filters. So a lot of what we've helped these companies to do has been to standardize the internal descriptions that they use. So instead of just having a part number, making sure you have an accurate filter and cage description. And what I mean by that is one that has all of the information necessary for someone like me or somebody else, if you want to take your business and get quotes elsewhere or keep us honest, has all of the information you need that they can quote exactly your filter that'll fit perfectly without having to do all kinds of tests and measurements and things like that. So that would be for a bag, it would be including the top and bottom construction that you have, mentioning if you have things like wear strips, double bottoms, all those kinds of things. Complete description of the media that you have, weight of the fabric, as well as the fabric media it is, and any treatments or finishes that you have. And then for the measurements, it's for most common, which is a snap band style bag for top load baghouses. It's the diameter or the flat width of the bag, the length of the bag, but then also the exact size of the tube sheet hole where it snaps into. And a lot of times that information is missing, and that's why we have to do sampling, all these kinds of things. So having all that information there for the bags, for the cage, having the true cage diameter, the length, the number of wires, the type of metal that is used, whether it's galvanized or some kind of coating or stainless, as well as the top construction, and making sure that those two things actually go together. Sometimes they drift a little bit through inaccurate measurements and reorderings, and you get a bag and a cage that are mismatched. They fit together perfect. They fit together, but they're not close enough in size. So the bag is loose or the bag is tight. So helping people standardize that has helped a lot of our frac sand customers to reduce their costs, because then they can easily get quotes from multiple manufacturers, but also their plants and their managements across all the different plants can quickly order and know that they have exactly the parts they need. So we've been able to help them with that and getting bulk discounts, having things on hand and stock for them. A lot of the frac sand industry, it's a quick running industry, so they need stuff quickly. So being able to get them parts quickly, replacement filters and cages, which usually have a long lead time, being able to get that to them quickly has been a great benefit for them that we've been able to supply. Moving to cement, one of our customers we worked with for many years, Cal Portland Cement, at several of their facilities. Something particular we did with them, for many years we did service work for them. So we conducted the filter changeouts on many of their large reverse airbag houses. For example, their large plant in Mojave, California, a couple thousand reverse airbags needed to be changed. With big J rods and springs and things like that. So quite a big production. But something that we found after doing inspections and providing recommendations and things like that, they just didn't have the manpower or the management structure available at the time to really implement a lot of the recommendations that we would make. So something that we offer to them and we offer to other customers is to actually have regular preventative maintenance program from our company. So it's not that we would completely replace their maintenance department, but rather we come periodically to do certain maintenance tasks. And sometimes we tailor the program to more so our people come regularly to do inspections and then make the list of preventative maintenance projects for the next quarter or year for their people. And then we do regular follow-ups to help them implement it. Sorry. In the case of Cal Portland, what we did was we actually assigned two of our people to be there for several weeks at a time every quarter. And they would come, inspect, make a list of most important repairs that were pending. And then with the customer, we would work out what we should focus our team on while they were there to make the best use of their time. And this was very useful. In fact, for a number of years, we had people permanently stationed at one of the plants there to help them to get caught up on a lot of maintenance things that had backed up in their baghouses. And they found this very useful for them because they were able to check off the list just a huge amount of tasks that we had pointed out to improve operation on all kinds of different systems, dozens of different dust collectors they had at their plant. So that's one way in cement where you often have a lot of different collectors, all kinds of different things. You can get inundated with small things that need to get done or medium-sized projects. So having our team come in and just help with those or just give guidance to the in-house maintenance can be really useful. And then lastly, I was thinking we could mention drywall and plaster production. So one of our large customers is United States Gypsum. And what I really like about our relationship with them, the benefits we've been able to give them, is through our training partnership with them. So a number of years ago, we established through corporate offices a plan to offer comprehensive training and inspections at their plants. So we worked out some favorable terms for them, some discounted pricing, as well as as well as putting them at the top of our priority list for training dates and things like that. And to date, we've been to, I believe, about 10 or 12 US gypsum plants with more scheduled. And each time we go, we've been able to do a multiple day visit with inspections of all the dozens of dust collectors they have at the plant. And then after taking that information in, the following days when we do the training with people, we've been able to incorporate directly into the class our findings from the inspection. So this lets us then, as we're discussing the material with the people from the plant, we're able to reference real life situations that are happening in their plant. You can say, oh, see this, where this applies on unit number 5, this same problem is existing. You see the connection? Or it also has helped us to get feedback from them to further enrich our reports that we provide, providing then the management with a report that really reflects what actually is happening on the ground, what personnel actually see and believe and think and understand about the different processes. And this has helped them to implement a wide range of changes to improve efficiency, to cut down on costs, and really to increase production in many areas as well, improve reliability ultimately. A few other things that we've done with them in particular plants. We're working with one plant in particular to change many of their bin vent dust collectors. They have dozen or more different manufacturers and legacy units, designs in their plant, which makes finding parts, maintenance just a nightmare. So as we've been replacing them, we've made a concerted effort to make sure that all of the bin vents are the same design and take the exact same parts, exact same filters, exact same pulse valves, controllers, all these kinds of things. And it's taken a lot of effort to do that because the bin vents are different sizes, capacities, but we've been able to standardize the design. So now, instead of having all these different things they have to try to figure out, they have one set of parts that goes to multiple systems, and everything is improving dramatically. And then just one other common thing that we've seen actually in all of these customers, and many, improving the filter ordering, gauge supply. Like I said before with the frac sand, having so many different random patches of orders and things like that from over the years and not having clear part descriptions led to a lot of different ordering and just all kinds of different inefficiencies with cost, with lead times, with the quality of the product, with the fit of the product. Because we're a manufacturer, because we work directly with the plants, we've spotted a lot of problems when reviewing the orders of filters and cages, for example, that a lot of people just take the order or the information, quote it, and sell them the same thing over and over again. Because we're looking for ways to improve things, we many times found mismatches between the fits or areas where we could switch to a different media, either to improve things, or in a few cases, actually, some of the plants we found where they were using a more expensive filter media than they really needed for a lot of the units. So we were able to go down to a much cheaper fabric and save them quite a bit because it simply wasn't necessary for the process that they had it on. And then lastly, a big thing that we've been implementing with their help at a lot of the plants is the importance of having the dust collectors clean on demand, so pulse when the filters need it based on differential pressure. A lot of plants had moved away from it from bad experiences back to just having it on timer setting, which wastes a lot of air, which overcleans the filters. A lot of bad comes from that. So we've been able to build their trust back in that system and how to do it correctly and move them back to that. But also we've been working with what we call removing a lot of clipboard data, which is people having to go around and physically write down the differential pressure of the baghouse and do that multiple times a day or a week and physically write something down, physically put it somewhere, physically type it in. We've been able to help a lot of the plants to make monitoring remote without being a huge investment and to centralize it so that it all goes to one place. And then that one person that used to just exist just to do that can now go around and actually do preventative maintenance or do inspections. Much more valuable use of that person's time and the plant's resources just by moving to automated and remote monitoring. So those are just a few of the things from some of the different customers that we've worked with, and a lot of those we find at, I would say, the vast majority, if not all, of the facilities that we visit when we do our technical inspections and training. And that's why we recommend that service so much, because we really find the really specific issues and help plants not only identify them, but then lay out a very viable way to